I'm Robin.
And I'm Julie.
We're two mamas who love inspiring healthy living.
After facing family health challenges and seeing how natural solutions transformed our lives, we are determined to help other mamas thrive, not just survive.
What if feeling awesome every day is possible for you and your family?
Come along with us on our natural journey.
Hi, I'm Robin.
And I'm Julie.
Welcome to our podcast, Helping Mamas Thrive.
Yay.
Yay. Were you supposed to say that?
I don't know. I am so impressed that you thought about a title before and you remember it, right? What is the title?
It is HBOT with Laura Betts.
Wow.
Do I get a gold star?
Yes, gold star. And that's a first. That's like awesome.
Well,
it only
Laura,
took us
I never
30
remember
episodes.
the topic.
Yeah.
We try to always talk about the topic before we say it.
Yeah.
We're not good at remembering. And we could write it down. That would be too simple.
Yeah.
So we have a special guest today, and
Yay.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard about hyperbaric chambers. I learned about them a long time ago. Well, in the 80s, people would talk about it because of Michael Jackson. And it is talked about in the autism community. And I'm so happy that I've met Laura because I can learn more about it. And we'll get there. But what's so awesome about Laura is she combines the muscle testing with the hyperbaric to really understand what each person needs. And just like what we do for muscle testing is like the safest, awesomest way to experience it. And so, right? I got shivers saying that.
I know.
I'm so excited to have Laura here. So welcome, Laura.
Yay. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so great to be here and to be with my fellow quantum nutrition practitioners. And it's just amazing. So thank you so much for having me today.
You're welcome. So let's start with, let's just talk about your background real quick. Do you mind giving our listeners and viewers, because they can see it on YouTube, just a little bit of background about what you do and where you've been?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my original area of expertise, I was a technical diving instructor, technical scuba diving instructor. I was teaching mixed gas diving in, believe it or not, New York. And there's a lot of wrecks there. It's not the clear Caribbean, but that's my original area of expertise. I come from a scuba diving family, and my father pioneered the application of what's called optimal breathing gas technology. So using the best mix for the scuba diving depth that you're at. And everything we know about modern hyperbaric medicine comes from treating diving injuries. And that was my initial familiarity with it. And like most things, we don't choose the things we believe in, they choose us. And there I am chugging along in my mixed gas diving career. And I am a closed circuit rebreather instructor and really expanding through the levels. And I have my own diving facility. And I end up with a mass in my right breast that was larger than a golf ball.
Whoa.
So, yep, mass in my right breast. So fun fact about diving, it's a good chance you don't have insurance if you're in between jobs or you're in between contracts, and as small business owners as well. And that, by the way, is the reason why I'm alive, because I didn't know what I know now. I had a false faith in people that were not able to help me. And it was an eye-opening experience for me. And I remember as I was going through it, one of the things that I said to myself is I said, I can deal with cancer or whatever this is, but I can't deal with these doctors. And it was the bureaucracy and the business of medicine became so evident and obvious to me that it forever changed my perspective as an individual. So
wow. Let me pause you there for a second, Laura, because I have a question. So how old were you when this was happening?
So I was 31. So
and
this is 20 years ago, almost exactly.
Oh my gosh. So when you found out you had this and you opted for the traditional.
So fun fact, the story goes on. I did not do any traditional therapy. I am alive because of hyperbaric medicine. I do not have a tumor because of hyperbaric medicine.
Great. So
Yeah.
continue your story. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Oh, I love it. And please stop me anytime.
Yeah.
With this, I'm still getting my comfort in doing this. So at times I'm just like focused
Yeah.
with that. And this was the neat thing. So here I am having a pity party for myself, and I call up a colleague. And I am literally calling my colleague up, and the colleague happens to also be my father. And I'm calling him up to tell him that he's going to bury his daughter. And that was the mindset that I was at the time. And for
And
those,
that's so understandable, Laura, because anytime now, like, the traditional medical system is super scary.
yeah,
And, there are a lot of people in it that are well ended, not thinking about all the things, but there's a lot of negativity
yes,
about it too. We've
yep,
heard so many stories, especially with COVID, people going to the hospital and people not breathing life into the patient, breathing death, like you're going to die. Like they said that to a patient. So I
yep.
understand why you feel like that. It's very heavy.
Oh yeah, they hadn't even done a biopsy, and the nocebos they were dropping on me, and the things that they were telling me. And I'm a mixed gas diving instructor. I don't know about medicine. I don't know about holistic health. I'm right now I'm changing family at that time in my life. I'm helping families by bringing them together through a sport activity, essentially. So I'm not prepared
Right.
for this at all. So I hope you guys have an opportunity to meet my dad. He's amazing, incredible professional, brilliant engineer, incredible educator. I'm really, really blessed. And my dad is also a boisterous New Yorker. So imagine I'm calling him up, telling him this, and he bursts out laughing. Boisterous bursts out laughing.
What?
Out laughing. Yep. And not the reaction I expected. And he goes, "Oh, baby, we have HBOT." And I go, "Dad, what's that going to do?" And as a scuba diver, as an ANDI certified instructor trainer, and HyperbaricsRx is an ANDI certified site, we have a perfect safety record. There's never been a training incident. There's never been a training accident. I have never gotten hurt while scuba diving and needed recompression. That's the term for what happens when you get injured with it. So this is a little different for me. I don't know about all of these other things. And I say to him, being a bratty daughter, I go, "What's that going to do? I didn't get bent." And he goes,
Mhm.
"Maybe you don't have time to learn all this right now. Um, you got that dive transport chamber?" I said, "Yeah, Dad, I do." He goes, "You need to go in there every day." I said, "Dad, what's that going to do?" He says, "You're going to listen to your dad for once in your life."
Love it.
So I listened to my daddy, and it was a really amazing thing. The particular system that I had was a portable diver transport chamber. I needed the transport chamber because as a working diver, it's a requirement if somebody were to get hurt. So I have this essentially really through my diving experience, my diving career is really more of this. And in this transition going on in the ANDI organization, here I am. And I would essentially go in there either every morning before work or every afternoon. And it was a really amazing experience because so there's a certain point where all of the oxygen goes into the body. The name for that is supersaturation. And I would reach supersaturation in the chamber. It's about 20 minutes into the session with the profile that I was running. And I would get this catharsis. I would just tears would just pour down, and that was really profound for me. And it gave me the awareness of the mind body link. And as I was healing, I was healing. And as soon as the pressure would start to drop, the catharsis would stop, the tears would stop. And I
So
did
does
that.
the Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Does the forced oxygenation in your body, so obviously that's helping the emotions move through like your
So
body?
There is in going in a hyperbaric chamber, this is my theory, and this is one of the reasons why I'm so sensitive to a positive hyperbaric experience in the practice. There is this mental act of surrender. You are being enclosed. So I think this is a little bit more situational than biophysical. Though when we are detoxing and when we are releasing, right, energy can certainly be stored in the tissues. So I do feel that. But in my particular case, I think for me that this was as much neuropsychiatric, as much mind as it was body. It was just
Yeah.
the, and going in there, you're isolated. There's white noise. I mean, when you can see, I love hyperbaric oxygen therapy. There's so many little nuances when you're doing it the way we do it here. So fun fact, 80 hyperbaric sessions. I did that. I did that for about once a day, 5 days a week, give or take. And I did that for 16 weeks, give or take. I went back for an ultrasound and a mammogram, and the mass the size of the golf ball is completely gone.
Oh,
What?
Gone.
so amazing.
So
Oh my gosh.
So that was my hyperbaric miracle. And I will tell you, just getting back to the point about medicine, they would not tell me that the ultrasounds and mammograms were clear. They said they were inconclusive because it was not possible for the tumor to be gone. And when I pushed them on this, because I didn't know what I know now, I didn't realize that I was talking to a wall. They said, well,
Yeah.
then the first films must have been wrong. The first
Wow.
films must have been wrong. So one of my fun things that I get to do, if I have radiologists and one of my, because I teach physicians and medical professionals in hyperbaric medicine. So if I happen to have some radiologists every once in a while, if it's appropriate, I will show the ultrasounds and the mammograms. And I love hearing them go, yeah, that's a clean film. That's a good film. That's perfect. Wow, what an amazing
Yeah.
story. Oh, wow, wow.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think this is a perfect example of so many, like if we unpack this a little bit, I mean, the power of the mind is
Mhm.
so huge for our overall health. And I would
Mhm.
say that a lot of disease is unresolved, starts with unresolved emotions. And so for you to have that catharsis, like
Mhm.
that's to me meaningful in my opinion about that, like that, especially people who have cancer and heart attacks,
Mhm.
they're eating healthy now. They're like living a really healthy lifestyle now. Why would they all of a sudden have a heart attack? Well,
Mhm.
there's unresolved issues in their body,
Mhm.
Oh,
and so
yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. And interesting side note, I'm a Reiki master. So if
Mm,
you consider that from, yeah, fun fact, right? If you consider what was going on there, I had a lot of anger that I was dealing with. I had some very difficult things, right? And in the perfect storm that they call cancer, the last hit to the immune system is always emotional, a death in the family, a job change, a house issue, a relationship end. There's some kind of last stressor, and you can do it like a parlor trick. And when I have, because of my experience, I get a lot of people that come that are moving through the perfect storm that we currently call cancer, and I can do it like a parlor trick. So tell me, tell me 6 to 18 months before your diagnosis, tell me what was going on in your life. And I mean, you can draw lines on their medical history in the emotional event. And that's the last failure to the immune system, right? Emotions can damage mitochondria. If the
mhm.
mitochondria was okay, we wouldn't be there in the first place. So you
Oh my gosh. You
That
are
absolutely.
is
fierce and your dad. I love this
It's so
story.
cool. I'm amazed. Well, I love diving. I'm a certified diver, but I almost died
Ooh.
diving. I don't know if you know this
No.
story. Um, I went on a dive trip and it was very stormy. I was with all males on a boat. I was out of my league completely. We were doing a wreck dive. It
Mhm.
was only like 35 feet down, but I hyperventilated underwater and
Mhm.
I couldn't get so I my dive master, he was trying to give me his oxygen and I couldn't take it and then I lost consciousness
Yeah,
way down
shallow
there.
water blackout. And just a little piece of information, that wasn't entirely your fault. the breathing apparatus you were using was causing carbon dioxide buildup that contributed to that. Just saying.
Wow.
Yeah, just saying.
Dang, but when I lost consciousness, I was thinking, well, the first thing was like, man, I'm gonna have to go find the chamber because I'm gonna be down here for a long time, and then, I'm not gonna be able to equalize. And then I was like, oh wait, no, I'm dying. Like, I'm not gonna be able to see the light. I was like, this is my last day down
When was
here.
this?
This is in my 20s. Yeah. So I throughout the whole process of getting certified, the chamber was like always this thing of like, don't ever want to go to the chamber, don't even, and be exposed to that imbalance that you would be sent there. And so now I'm like talking about it in a holistic
Yeah.
frame, and it's like wild. So I appreciate the sport. The fact that you are in this is so super cool to me.
Thank
I love it.
you. Thank
But
you.
it's amazing. So take us through how you
Yeah, sure.
expanded this experience.
So obviously this is a profound realization for me. And
Right.
how many people have access to a portable chamber that can do a clinical dosage? And the answer is very, very few. I mean, this particular unit that I had, it was designed to field stabilize a diver. So it wasn't it was very specific. I was able to duplicate the clinical dosage that I needed. So this was a game changer for me. And I was having some changes in the scuba diving industry, business wise. I was having some changes personally, professionally. And, again, we don't choose the things we believe in. So now I'm like, this is interesting. And I'm starting to move now into more hyperbaric chamber system support. And I start getting referrals, and I start having things like this person was discharged from the emergency room and they weren't recompressed, and now they have a sustained neurological injury. And here I am, my portable diver transport chamber is now, I have somebody coming to me for that needs help. The emergency room discharged him. He needed to have been recompressed. And then this is weeks later, and he's still got neurological symptoms. So
Oh
we need
boy.
to handle that. And then I get another one for multiple sclerosis. Hyperbaric plays a major role in the treatment and management of multiple sclerosis. So this is my personal chamber now. And I'm like, you know what? I want to make this accessible to people. And
Mhm.
it's 20 years later, and HyperbaricsRx has been making proper hyperbaric oxygen therapy accessible. And that's one of the most amazing things we
So
do
cool.
here.
That's
So, and
awesome.
yep,
Oh
that's
yeah,
it.
go
That's
ahead,
what's
Laura.
happened. Yeah.
Well, I just can you just re-explain so people understand what recompression is? So
Sure, sure.
we understand.
So, in a scuba diving injury, and by the way, I do want to preface that treating a scuba diving injury, it's a subspecialty of hyperbaric medicine. It's emergency medicine. We don't actually do that here, by the way. We do
Okay.
non-emergency stuff. And essentially, if you think about, you went too deep, you stayed too long, you came up too fast. And if you want a visual for it, what you did inside your body is kind of the equivalent of taking the top off the soda bottle, right? So when you take
Mhm.
the top off the soda bottle, you got bubbles. Except the problem is these bubbles are in your bloodstream and they're traveling around your body. And these bubbles, in regards to scuba, the only way to fix this is you have to take them back down to depth and slowly get the bubbles out. So that's what we mean by recompression, and that's how you treat an injured scuba diver. But the amazing thing about hyperbaric oxygen therapy, what are we doing when we do this? What's happening is we're using the pressure of the chamber to dissolve a gas into a liquid. In this
Mm.
case, the gas is oxygen and the liquid is everything in our body except for very dense bone. Every cell in our body needs oxygen to do its job. There are
Right.
over 6,000 reactions a second going on in our bodies that don't happen if there isn't oxygen. The energy in the cell the mitochondria, right? So if you think about the cell as a car, the mitochondria as the engine, the fuel is something called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. It's predominantly made from oxygen. Now, getting on our Q&T, oxygen's the primary component, but it's not the only component. We need trace minerals. We need all sorts of, depending on the organ that's being supported. So this is where I said we need a little bit more. And I have a nutrition journey as well. I used to be 60 pounds heavier than I am right now.
Wow. Wow.
Yep. So I'm going to do a Facebook Live and I'm going to put up some of my older pictures. There aren't many of them, but I do have a few. So so I initially after the tumor was gone, I said, you know, there's stuff happening here. It was an awakening for me. Why did this happen? Started making big changes, made major nutritional changes, started eating for nutrient density, cut out. In my particular case, I didn't eat a single animal product for like 4 or 5 years. And that was a big component in healing my gut. And I didn't have Q&T, knowing what I know now.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's just amazing. And that's what got me here. And in being authentic and vulnerable, I'll fully disclose. This time last year, I was thinking about closing my practice, and I was legitimately looking for buyers for my equipment.
Wow.
And part of the reason for that is I had made a decision about a year earlier that I was really going to take my health to the next level. And in doing that, I was wearing a smartwatch 24/7, including when I was sleeping.
Wow.
I started having fatigue. I couldn't function. I couldn't think. That wasn't the only issue. I had some really, really high pesticides as well, because I was eating a lot of plant-based food, and at times it wasn't all organic. And I mean, like my pesticides, whoa, with it. And in trying to do that, and it was really a frustrating thing because like I've done all of this and I've come this far, and I'm miserable. And it doesn't feel good in my body, and I'm having so much trouble, and I'm going to the gym 4 days a week, and I'm gaining weight. And I gained 20 pounds in a 3-month period going to the gym 4 days a week.
Right. A lot of people feel like that. They feel like they're healthy, but they're doing the things that are deemed healthy in our society, but they're not feeling well. And that's why quantum nutrition response testing is amazing. And so when Laura's saying QNT, that's what she's meaning, quantum nutrition testing. And that's what Julie and I do. That's what she does. We actually met at our certification for Quantum 3. But that's when you evaluate the body and understand what organs and glands are out of balance. So you can be eating what is healthy, what you think is healthy for you, but maybe your body doesn't like it. For me right now, my liver is working on things and I can't eat nightshades. Who thought a tomato was not good for you? I mean, I ate copious amounts, but my body's like, hell no on nightshades. But all those are healthy foods. Peppers, those have a lot of nutrients, but my body specifically doesn't want that. And that's why quantum nutrition is so interesting and telling and efficient and effective. So I love that you're sharing that. You know,
So what turned it around?
Yeah.
So scan at level 1. So again, I end up going to a training program in February. I really kind of went just to get away. It was up in Orlando, so my daughter lives in Orlando, and I wouldn't give myself permission to just take a vacation. Of course, it had to be work. So
Yeah.
this is my excuse.
Yeah, but that was divine, Laura.
It really was. And I meet Dr. Palmer, and my quantum nutrition anniversary is March 11th. And so it's a really, really neat time. So I meet Dr. Palmer. I instantly, I'm like, I don't know what this is. I need more information here. I sign up for the whole thing. And and at level 1, Renee does a scan, and Renee finds the radiation, explains to me what's going on. I put my watch away. I have not worn it since. I will not wear it again. It was an instant change. I also did some aggressive radiation management. Like I didn't have harmonizers on my phone. I went as far as to get a Faraday screen, and
Yeah.
I sleep in a Faraday tent, and just trying
Ooh,
to like just stop the whole thing because I was just so heightened. And by QNT level 2, I was a different person. And by
wow.
QNT level 3, it was even better. And hyperbaric is amazing when, the oxygen's a primary component, but being able to effectively help the body to drain, help the body to detox, and provide the additional nutritional components. It's just been incredible for me.
That's
And
awesome. Let me pause you there for a second
yeah.
because I don't think a lot of people realize, because everywhere I go, people are wearing smartwatches.
Yes.
I mean, we worked at a health fair event the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Only 2 out of the 15 people did not have a device on them, on their wrist. So let's talk about radiation and EMF.
Yes.
Do you want to talk
Yes.
about that a little bit?
So for me, I did a deep dive on what are called SAR levels, safe area radiation levels. The particular device that I was wearing has a SAR level based on it being 10 feet away from your body. When I looked it up,
What?
I
I'm
couldn't
gonna
believe
write
it was true. I couldn't believe it was true. The consumer testing that was brought to market, if you go through that whole thing and you read in the fine print, the SAR level dictates it being 10 feet away. Who wears a smartwatch 10 feet away from their body?
Right?
that is ludicrous. I can't even believe it. But also, did you know that the new iPhones, in the disclaimer business that none of us read, it says something like "Don't hold it next to your ear."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I worked for a company that would at way back when in another life, and they were doing testing, and they had radios keyed to pigs' heads, and that was the testing that they were doing with this radio keyed to measure the levels and radiation. And there was definitive research that came out of it. The idea that we're not affected by radiation is inaccurate. I've done multiple cases of persons whom had complex pathogenic infections, including Lyme disease, so like Lyme with co-infections.
Yeah.
And I had one where they would wake up in the middle of the night, every night, in excruciating pain at almost the exact same time. We were able to break it down to the smart meter, which was right behind her bed on the outside. So the smart
Yeah.
meter would go on, and it would essentially affect her very seriously. We built a Faraday cage. I mean, it's not hard. I mean, she built a small block, to block the frequency. She put it over it, and sure enough, had great night's sleep after that, wasn't waking up in the middle of the night in pain.
Wow.
This is why I love QNT, because you can look at the patterning
Mm-hmm.
and then just ask the body. It is so amazing.
That is so cool. You're
Um,
helping so many people. This is so cool.
Yeah, I love that. And
How
oh, can you just explain? Because I really don't think people understand. We just said about the radiation, but can you talk about the Faraday cage and the other
Mm.
protectors that you've used?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, and I want to make the point just to kind of give you the mental set that this shifted me into. So my whole issue was a mass in this area. So because I was sleeping with the smartwatch, by the time I got to quantum nutrition testing, the gums on the side of my mouth here were bleeding and sore. Thought I had dental issues here. And
Right.
side of my breast where the mass was sore and tender. And I was, of course, admittedly afraid, and I
Right.
didn't understand what was happening. And I am so grateful that I found quantum nutrition testing, because in my personal journey, even after they had data that did not, that it was, yep, there's no malignancy. They were pushing for more tests. They were pushing, no, you still have to do this. So I was like, okay, so we're going to find a malignancy no matter what test you do. Is that basically the point in this? And we're just going to keep testing. We're going to keep irradiating my boobies until we find something, is basically where we're going here.
Wow.
The kind of biopsy that they were ordering, they don't do that biopsy anymore because it spills the contents into the circulatory system and spreads metastases. That's a biopsy they wanted me to do. So anyway, yeah, so this was my issue with radiation. So I did go get what are called harmonizers, and you can't block RF on a device because then the device won't work. But there are devices that are harmonizers that help make it a little bit more positive. And of course, the idea is, like, I don't sleep with my phone near me anymore. I limit my time with that. A Faraday cage is a full block. So it's not a harmonizer. Like, see, this little thing on my phone is a harmonizer with it. So, and there are ones like that. Some work very good, some not so much.
Yeah.
With this
We
one,
can always muscle test them.
we can always muscle test them. And by the way, Renee tested mine and they are handling the issue, and I tested out good on mine. So
Yes.
it's just all the different things that you can do when you have an amazing practitioner that's helping you in all kinds of aspects of your life. So Faradays are full blocks. It's actually like a film, like a metal kind of screen, like a super fine mesh, and it completely blocks the frequency. And I realized that I was being affected by this when it got there, and I took it out of the box and I kind of wrapped it around me, and I was like, wow, okay. All right. It just was the reality. And it was profound of a difference. So the idea that our devices are not harming us, I have done multiple cases of people that got rashes from exposure to electrosmog. So Wi-Fi and radiation in the air got physical rashes. I've seen it. So very, very real thing.
Yep, I have several clients who have tested for radiation in their brain. They sleep like this with their watch. But so people, if people are listening and this is the first time they're hearing about this, there are ways to block it. There, if you have a smart meter, you can call the electric company. This is what I did. You call the electric company and you say that you want a non-smart meter, an analog meter. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, we don't have that equipment anymore. But when my company was changing over, they actually sent us a postcard. So I was able to say, I don't want the new one. And over the years, they tried to coerce me every year to switch. And it cost me about $150 extra a year, because I have to sponsor a person to walk up to my house and read the analog. I mean, if your neighbors have smart meters, you're still getting exposed, but at least it's not on my house. So I don't want to be doom and gloom. And I want people to be aware, and there are things you can do. Empower them. You can do these harmonizers. There's so many on the market. If you work with me and Julie or Laura, any of the practitioners we've had on this podcast, they can all test the various ones. I have a disc in my purse, so it covers people 15 feet from me. I have my mom, she wears a smartwatch because she's afraid she's going to fall. And she wants that emergency thing. And so there's fear in there and stuff like that. So I have her wear one around her neck. So she muscle tests. So there's the compromise, right? So she doesn't.
Because it's hard with the watches. There isn't a place to put a harmonizer on there, really.
Yeah,
it's very tricky without it getting damaged and all that kind of stuff. And so that is very unfortunate. So I love that she wears it.
So there's a disc around your neck, and there's a lot of those on the market too. So just like Laura was saying, this can affect your health in so many ways. And it really goes undiagnosed in traditional care because nobody's thinking about this. Although the other day somebody posted the warning that goes on the 5G tower. I was like, holy moly.
If somebody but you're right. If somebody would have said to me years ago that I would have had this story about being seriously affected by my devices, I would have been, oh, come on. But I
Yeah.
mean, my gums were bleeding. I was having tissue damage from it. And, you
Yeah.
know, I just, all the symptoms, I mean, I was so tired, I couldn't function. It was really frustrating. And then as soon as I started handling it naturally, I mean, I felt better within weeks.
That's awesome. So let's shift really quickly because I want to
Mm.
talk about all the kinds of people that would benefit from HBOT. And I definitely want to talk about autism
Yes.
because this comes up a lot. Do you want to talk about how it can help? I mean, you met one person with autism, you met one person with
Yeah.
autism. So,
So, but
of
I
course,
actually have a lot of experience working with families with autism. When I first transitioned from diving medicine to hyperbaric medicine, I worked with more families that had children with autism than any other indication. It's changed a little bit since then with it, but I have a lot of experience with it. So first of all, let me just say that um, everybody if you're a human being, you can benefit from hyperbaric oxygen
great.
as a wellness or an anti-aging benefit. The oxygen forces the production of collagen. As we age, our skin becomes collagen deficient. People
Hmm.
undergoing courses of hyperbaric oxygen, they commonly comment on their hair, their skin, their nails. Hyperbaric also clinically documented to lengthen telomeres. Telomere shortening is why we get older. Each time the body makes another copy of that cell, it uses a little piece of the genetic material, the telomere. And hyperbaric, clinically documented to lengthen telomeres, it also mobilizes stem cells 800%. So,
Wow.
yeah, 800%. So, so this is why it's healing. This is why it's reparative, and it is neuroprotect. I'm kind of working at healthy people, and I'll work backwards towards more sick people. It is neuroprotective, clinically documented to play a role in preventing neurodegenerative conditions. And ready for this?
Yep.
So if you said, Laura, tell me what hyperbaric does best. The thing that it does best is it brings down inflammation. That is one of its primary mechanisms. Someone will notice that within a few sessions, it downregulates negative inflammation and at the same time, paradoxically increases circulation. 50%, 50% of deaths worldwide are caused by chronic inflammatory conditions.
Yeah.
Cancer is a chronic inflammatory condition. Diabetes, chronic inflammatory conditions. Immune disorders, chronic inflammatory conditions.
Wow. I don't
I
think
can't.
most people know that.
No.
So with a lot of scenarios, so right now, hyperbaric in general, tissue regenerates about 80% faster, bone regenerates about 50% faster. If the tissue is compromised, like in the case of a diabetic wound, it could be 3, 4, 500% more. If the body isn't healing because it doesn't have the oxygen as the primary component, with it, because it doesn't have the oxygen as the primary component, then we can go ahead and essentially reactivate the healing mechanism. We can force angiogenesis. Now, again, this is where I love quantum nutrition. This is where nutrition is very important, because if the body doesn't have the trace minerals, if the body has mitochondria damage, if the body is missing other nutritional components, now I'm asking the body to make a cake really fast, but I've got
Mm.
no eggs. I've got no ingredients. I'm missing ingredients to make that
Mhm.
cake. And this is why a lot of people are not successful with hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Hyperbaric oxygen assumes that the mitochondria is able to do the things that the higher partial pressure of oxygen is asking. And
Mm.
this is where a personalized dive plan, this is where handling, right? Detox and drainage, we know as natural health practitioners, detoxing and draining, not the same thing. Hyperbaric is a broad spectrum bactericide, virucide, it's even oncocidal. It kills all sorts of anaerobes, bad guys, bad bacteria. And unlike an antibiotic, which kills good stuff too, the oxygen, this, by the way, is why I believe in God. The crisis of my faith was completely resolved when I did this research, because the good gut bacteria is very, very similar to the bad gut bacteria. But on hyperbaric oxygen, it only kills the bad stuff. The good stuff is an absolute neutral. And the science there, the minutiae, like I have goosebumps telling you this, for thing we know about the body, it's a fraction of what we don't know. The intelligent design there is so specific and so exact. The more and more I learn about oxygen mechanisms, the more and more, honestly, the stronger my faith gets. It's kind of interesting, but
that's awesome.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So, and even if hyperbaric isn't a primary component, it certainly is a secondary component. The body needs oxygen for everything. Who couldn't benefit from regenerating 80% faster? With that, we talked a little bit about autism, and let me now go back. So autism, what is autism? And let me clarify, by the way, that the autism community has been grossly taken advantage of by people that call themselves hyperbaric medical professionals. I say many times this industry has a lousy reputation. At times it works very, very hard to use. And not using an oxygen source with a child with autism can bloom the anaerobes in their gut and make them worse.
Right.
So explain the difference, because obviously you're well educated in what is going to be.
Yes, absolutely. So autism, now, of course, right, to your point, if you've met one child with autism, you've met one child with autism. But a point I want to make about hyperbaric when it's done properly is it doesn't cause any harm. It's only helping. So we get this massive benefit with no negative. The problem is when it's not done properly, it is not bacteria static. So hyperbaric oxygen, bacteria static means it doesn't allow it to grow. It doesn't kill it, but it doesn't support it either. It can't bloom in a bacteria static environment. Hyperbaric oxygen done properly is always bacteria static, and at clinical dosages, it's bactericidal. In fact, this is one of the things I use it for, and I have many people with complex pathogens, Lyme co-infections. How do you handle all of these different things at the same time? You can't do that with an antibiotic. They can't stay on an antibiotic long enough without liver and kidney damage, and the antibiotic has to be typed for each one of this bacteria. So with hyperbaric, because it is this wonderful broad spectrum bactericide, virucide, oncocide, and it's used for some very serious infections. And because it works so well for these serious infections, those mechanisms are the same reason why it works for some of the little stuff. So getting back to the autism, a lot of children with autism, right, they have gut disruptions. So what we want to do is we don't want to disrupt the gut further. And when hyperbaric is not done properly, it is not bacteria static, and it causes the gut to shift. And I have done multiple consults on children that were above average candidates for hyperbaric oxygen therapy, but because of ignorance or malice, honestly, they have the same effect on the child, so they're just as bad. Essentially, what they thought they were being treated with, what they thought dosage they were receiving, they weren't even receiving hyperbaric oxygen therapy. They were doing essentially another modality that they don't understand is another modality because of lack of training and information. And I will also say we have some bad actors here. Hyperbaric Some of the things it's able to do, I can't tell you on this podcast because YouTube will shut your video down.
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
sit, I sit on two medical boards. I sit on the ANDI Diving and Medical Board, and I sit on the medical board for the International Hyperbaric Medical Foundation. And I was involved with research that was being done based on a very specific national health crisis that we've all just went through. And hyperbaric oxygen therapy is clinically documented to be the best intervention for it.
Wow.
Yep.
So
So
cool.
there's a, but again, hyperbaric, it can't be patented. It has no pharma interest. Even though it works so well, it requires big equipment, it requires training. You have to care, right? You
Right.
guys
So I have
know.
two questions about that. One
Yeah.
is, how would a parent, I want to say both questions and then you can say one question is, how would a parent know if they were doing hyperbaric that it was not working or it was, making the gut flora worse? I'm guessing
hmm
symptoms.
hmm
And the second is, how do you get the kids with autism in the chamber?
Sometimes as parents, we need to find ways to get kids to do things that that are good for them that they don't want to do. Acclimating a special needs child, acclimating a brain injured person to hyperbaric oxygen therapy, there is a little bit of a nuance to it. In the formal training, we call that Emerald Heart. And what they need is they need an Emerald Heart chamber operator. But for the moms that are listening here with it, very often, if you can get through the initial few, they tend to want, like somehow they know it feels good. So I'll give you an example. I was doing an installation for a family in a home, and this is really funny. This family, beautiful hyperbaric system. They're setting this up because they don't have access to a clinic in their area. It's a beautiful system. We're just about to get ready to start doing some training. We're going to do a demo, and a little girl walks in and goes, "Oh, no, no, no," and walks right back out. Wouldn't even walk in the room. So I'm like, okay, this isn't going to be so great. So, but she was a little curious about it. So playing around with it, when she'd come to talk to me, I'd put the oxygen mask on. And she's trying to talk to me, and I'm working, and I wouldn't hear her. And I held the oxygen mask to her. And when she had the oxygen mask in front of her face, then I would hear her. Then I was able to hear her. Then I could get her to understand. So we did this little acclimation with talking about that. We make it fun. Here at our facility, we have televisions that are connected to our system, state-of-the-art streaming services. So, sometimes there may be a television show that can hold their attention. We need to do some acclimation here. I'll tell you something else that I do. I use a very specific essential oil. I looked it up. Young Living doesn't make one. So
Oh,
I did look. I use a very specific essential oil. It affects the amygdala and helps to reduce claustrophobia. So way, way, way back when, I didn't like the idea of sedating children with autism. So I
right.
said, there's something else we can do to help work through this confinement anxiety. I did some research. I found out that this essential oil affects the amygdala, the area of the brain. It makes things seem bigger. We use it with the adults too. And with that, what else can we do with it? Certain games can go inside. You can't bring electronic devices inside a hyperbaric chamber, but I've had certain blocks can go in, certain toys, busy boxes, things like that. So it depends a little bit on the individual with it. I'll also share with you that the smaller the chamber, the more difficult it is when we are working with the babies here. One mama goes in the system with it, or a trusted family member. We're not having them go in by themselves. It's a little challenging for them, and that helps. And then you can see here, this is the common chamber that we use, and you can see it's pretty big.
Wow.
So
If I give you a reference for size,
Yeah.
so this is me in front of the door, so you can see it's a pretty big chamber.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, and this one here, it's equipped so that they're on oxygen. Well, yeah, they're on oxygen inside the system. Mom has oxygen, baby has oxygen, family member, brother, sister. I will say it's a labor of love. And here at my facility, when we have someone call and they say we have a child with autism, I need to talk to the parents because not every family is right. The child is going to have a massive detox reaction when they start doing hyperbaric. We need to make sure we've done some pre-prep. They need to take binders pre and post. So hyperbaric in general, this is what got me down some of these supplements with it. They need to be taking in general binders 30 minutes before their hyperbaric session, and they need to be taking binders immediately after. That would be in addition to their standard protocol.
Are you
So
allowed to share? I know that we are time challenged.
yeah,
Are
we're
you
okay.
allowed
They're
to
not
share
here
some?
yet though. So
Okay, are you
yeah,
allowed to share some of the successes you've had
sure.
with some people with autism?
Yes, 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 yes. So I have worked with families where if you met these children, well, they're not so children anymore, they're teenagers, you would not be able to identify that they have autism. The primary issue with autism, what is going on, right? So not getting a discussion about what autism is and what is going on. They have inflammation in their brain, they have inflammation in their gut.
Yeah.
75% of children with autism, if you image them on a SPEC image, you can see, you can measure the introductions. I'm grabbing one of those while I'm talking to you. You can measure the interruptions in cerebral metabolism. Their brain doesn't work. So the brain has no direct blood supply at all. That's the function of the blood-brain barrier. So when we have this inflammatory cycle, even a mild inflammatory cycle, it reverses the gradient. So our brain has a net that sits on top of it. And this vascular net that sits on top of it, the pressure of the brain allows the oxygen to diffuse into the brain tissue. That law of physics, that mechanism is called Henry's law of solubility. And that is the primary mechanism of hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
So
So,
somebody has aluminum in their brain.
uh-huh.
So also with Alzheimer's and other neurological things,
Mm-hmm.
oxygen, what does the oxygen do in their brain?
So I'll show you a cool picture and let me see if I can get this going. Let me see. Okay, so I don't know if this shows here on it, but I pulled the case presentation on autism. And if you look here, so this is a baseline, and you can see that parts of the brain are darker, they're missing, like you don't see it on the image. And then you compare it here and you see how much it modeled. That's called a restoration of cerebral metabolism. I'll give you another example. This one, maybe this one's a little easier to see. Hold on. Okay, this is a good one. So I don't know if you can see here. So see the holes, the holes here
Yes.
versus here? Okay, the brain isn't missing, it's just not working. So what hyperbaric does
Right.
is it makes it like that, and then it creates an opportunity over time to repair what's going on here.
I
So
love it.
yeah, so when we have metals, now the metals, the oxygen to the brain helps to repair the ability for the brain to make enzymes. Thought, all of these activities need a lot of oxygen molecules. If you look at some of these brain chemicals, dismutases and oxidases, they're like O18, O13. That 18 is a lot of oxygen molecules. So when the brain isn't working right, it essentially can't make the chemicals. And if your brain isn't making the chemicals, we're not surprised that we have a problem here. So second thing going on all at the same time. And this is in relation to the heavy metals. So the oxygen is creating the opportunity, it supercharges the white blood cells. So hyperbaric second mechanism kills anaerobic bacteria, a fish in the desert response. It's a not happy environment for them. Completely separate mechanism supercharges the white blood cells, the leukocytes, makes them better hunters with bigger guns. So the body is better able to clean and scrub because the white blood cells, that's part of their job. So now metals, right? We know we need a nutritional component. The body is not going to let go of the heavy metals if the body is mineral deficient. So
Right.
we make sure that we're handling the mineral deficiencies. And assuming we're doing that, now we're going to get much more progress on a detox program when we add in some supportive hyperbaric than we would on just a detox program by itself. And it's going to manage all of that inflammation. So the person's going to feel better while they're doing it. So, so that's a piece in that there. I hope that helps a little.
Yeah, I want, because
Tons.
people talk about heavy metals in the brain a lot,
Mhm.
you know, and I just wanted to expand, like I wanted
Yeah,
people to understand what happens.
Right.
And I know that we're trying to stay on time. Can you just very quickly list, you like you said hyperbaric can help anybody, right? And you said who is it best for? So can you just share really quickly other people that you have found great
sure.
success, just so people, just to draw the conclusion a little bit more?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, so I have persons whom bedridden from chronic Lyme disease that are back at work and have full quality of life. We
Wow.
repaired the neurological damage caused by the Lyme disease from the increased hyperbaric oxygen mechanisms. We neurogenesis, we healed the damage, and we used the hyperbaric to help kill the bad guy, kill the bacteria, kill the pathogens that aren't supposed to be there. And of course, with you need a nutritional component to really eradicate chronic Lyme. Hyperbaric's amazing. Oxygen is the primary component, but not the only component. Immune disorders. I have persons that had formal diagnoses of rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. Their rheumatologists say they don't have RA and lupus anymore. We've talked a little bit about the role that it plays. Anything that is inflammatory. How about pain management? Pain is predominantly inflammation. So on a
Right.
pain management protocol, we can use the hyperbaric as a symptom management, but it's helping the body to heal faster, as well as bringing down the inflammation and the neurotransmitter that is the neurotransmitter is actually downregulated, clinically documented 21 days after a single hyperbaric session. So this is why if you're doing elective surgery, you want to do a hyperbaric session before. If you're doing elective surgery, you want to do 5 to 10 sessions afterwards. Who wouldn't want to heal 50 to 80% faster and have
Yeah.
less of a risk of infection, and right, you're going to get less scarring because you get better knitting at the edges. So we see that all the time. I've had many cases of serious infection, serious non-healing wounds. Somebody, right, they fell, they hurt something, and the shoulder was never right again. It's bothered me for the last 15 years,
Yeah.
and now it's really starting to get tough. Let's try something here. In some cases, it was just poor profusion, lack of oxygen to the area in a tissue that doesn't have a lot of oxygen supply to begin with. So the body would fix it if it had all of the components to do it, and it's missing the primary one. So let's give it the oxygen. Boom, angiogenesis healed.
That's
I did a trade show way back when, and we had a site that was supporting it. We were doing demos for it. I had a gentleman that comes out of the system and says he's had a pain in his groin for 20 years that was gone. That surprised me, by the way. I followed up with him. I would not have told him that he was going to get that kind of result. I understand physically what happened there. It was a very, very small microcapillary area, very poorly perfused. I get it, but it's still pretty amazing.
right.
I mean, and as an adjuvant, because the body needs the oxygen to metabolize, when you combine it, even on a supportive schedule, even on a maintenance protocol, or what we might consider a wellness protocol, it's pretty phenomenal what you're able to do with it. So,
I have a quick question because we are people and pets. Do pets have any play in this technology or an
um,
opportunity?
fun fact, my brother is a doctor of veterinary medicine. His thesis was on hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Oh
There you
my
go, Jules.
gosh.
Yes. So yes. And as we know with animals, there is no placebo effect at all. They
Mhm.
use hyperbaric actively for racing camels and thoroughbred racing horses. And it's part of how their performance enhancement. And in some cases, it's able to knit an injury that might have been a career-ending injury for that animal. So huge role for hyperbaric in veterinary hyperbaric medicine. Even easier for animals because you don't have to worry about the pressure changes in the ears quite the way you have to do with people. You don't have to teach the dog to equalize the way you have to do with a human. And they tolerate the therapy really, really well. And yes, I've seen, in
Wow,
fact,
wow.
yeah, we did
Great question.
hyperbaric with my brother's dog, and we had really great results with it. Yeah,
That's cool. We
yeah.
do we have some animals on our membership, and we also do a motion code on tons of animals. I know. So we need to wrap it up. So if you had any advice for
Mhm.
somebody that is in a situation where they've maybe exploring hyperbaric, or they're
Or they heard this and they're like, I need more. Like, I need to find out if this can
Absolutely.
be a modality for me.
Sure. So one of the things I would say is that so we are a ANDI certified hyperbaric chamber facility. The ANDI organization is a training and accreditation agency. And if you're looking, if you say, "Hey, are you ANDI?" That right there can supersede, some questions there. So looking for ANDI, you want a little bit more information about ANDI in general as a hyperbaric organization. Their website is andihq.com. We are an ANDI certified hyperbaric facility. We have ANDI certified chamber operators. And there's a lot of differences. I've done some Facebook Lives on what the differences are. My Facebook, for people that are just looking for some more information, I have dozens of videos there. My Facebook page is HyperbaricsRx. And of course, our contact information is there as well. And I do help people literally all over the world. In some cases, I'm helping them. They're doing hyperbaric in their home or at another site. And I have people that are just doing telehealth with me as well, like you have. We have similar clients like that. So
right.
absolutely with there. And then, of course, in the reference to this, my contact information is on the Facebook page. And if there's something that we can do to help here, our oxygen experts are happy. If you haven't noticed, I really want everybody to be able to benefit from hyperbaric and have the life and the quality of life that I have because of it.
It's
So
amazing. I
love
mean,
that.
I could talk to you for hours, Laura. My brain
Yes.
has like 10,000 questions. And this has been such a joy of
Oh,
learning and
it's been so
sharing.
great.
And it's such a blessing. I feel like
Yes.
just really, I didn't really know a lot about hyperbaric. I just knew that I wanted you on the show.
Thank you.
Um,
Well, I
and-
would love to share more. We can do follow-ups. I mean, if
okay,
Yes.
you haven't noticed, I love talking about HBOT.
love it. Also,
Yay.
just one quick question. If somebody wanted to purchase one
Mhm.
from for their home, do you sell that as well? We'll put all your
I
contact.
would I would recommend so have them reach out. I will refer them to the equipment company that I work with. And full
Okay.
disclosure, it is partially owned by my family. But in my business is a working model of some very specific state-of-the-art equipment configurations. And the name of the company is ANDI Pressure Solutions, and they have anything and everything you need. And again, little biased here, but I think we do a good job.
That's
So-
awesome.
Well, just knowing the amount of years and background and study and all of that intelligence going into such a powerful tool that's comforting to a lot of people,
absolutely.
rather than just some salesperson that, came across a good,
And it's a big deal because hyperbaric has its own regs. It's got its own code. It's obscure. It's got its own little specialties. And I mean, I had someone the other day that essentially they purchased a system off the internet. It had no certifications. It's not ever had any safety testing, and that was my real concern about it. And, they want to use it in a commercial practice, and the fire marshal won't let them. And I'm like, are you surprised that you bought a piece of equipment off the internet that wasn't what it was represented to be?
Right.
It's a quarter of a price of the closest competing product. Didn't that tip you off?
Right. Yes, we have that with the oils too all the
Yeah.
time.
Yes,
Yep.
I fully understand the difference between therapeutic grade and fragrance oil and so on. So with
Yes.
that one,
Well,
with it.
thank you so much.
thank
It's been a
you.
delight.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for this time
Yes.
and for you to give us so much knowledge. And I love your brain. I
Me
love your
too.
heart.
I know.
And your story is so inspiring. And I know that this is going to get out to all the right people. In fact, in my brain, I'm thinking of the people that I got to get this thing loaded and ready because I
we can
need to
text it.
share it.
Yes.
Oh, thank
So
you.
thank you. Have a great day, Laura.
Oh, thank you. Amazing. I look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Thank you so
Great.
much. Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. And if you want to support our show, give us a 5-star rating.
To learn more about our practice, visit athelivingtree.com.